am joined by the internet sensation that is Joe Lana, aka the Cowboy Drummer. Yeah! Welcome to Drummers Review. How are you?
I'm awesome, man. What a cool little intro there. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, Ollie. How's it going?
I'm delicious, thank you. It's such a pleasure to meet you. Been a huge fan of your music, both past and present projects of yours, for a long time. Um, Not only are you an amazing drummer, but your sense of humor is something that has just driven your social media account into stardom. Before we go too much into that, why the cowboy hat? Where was the cowboy drummer born? Talk me through that.
Man, that's a great question. I love answering this question because there's meaning behind it. I'm not a cowboy, everyone. So I'm not from Texas, brother. I ain't from the South. All right. I'm from New York, so the opposite side. But my grandfather wore the cowboy hat. My father was the drummer. You know what I mean? So they were both just the most impactful men in my life. And when they passed away, that's how I honor them. I mixed the cowboy hat for my grandfather, the drums for my dad, cowboy drummer, honoring those two. So that's what it boils down to.
That's so cool, and I know that you've been very open about particularly your dad who inspired you so much, and we're going to come on to that a bit later. Um, you've got this wild energy about you, on stage and online. What's the kind of most unexpected reaction you've had on, let's say, a video that you've posted from a fan of yours? What's been the craziest thing that someone has said to you or sent to you in response to one of your drumming videos?
Dude, that's a good one. Wow. I don't know if I have a specific like it's funny because I'll post something like sometimes if it's like a rage bait thing, I'll expect people to like get angry or something, and then I'll see comments and people will like it. So that's unexpected, because I'm like, this wasn't meant for you to like. But because there's so many different styles of content, and I like to dabble in many different, like a serious video, a funny video. So whenever I'm doing like a rage type thing and I get positive comments, that might be the best answer to that. But yeah, you never know with the comments on the internet. You never know what they're gonna like.
That's true. That's true. But what I love about your content is that not only is it full of personality and character and color, but also everything you post for a drummer, it's just so relatable. I mean, for example, you did a video a little while ago saying something like, "Oh, this is how to really annoy a drummer," or something to those words. And it was when a guitarist puts their foot on your bass drum, or like you're playing the bass drum and it moves for like an inch forward every time you hit it, or your floor tom's ever so slightly wonky. How do you keep finding inspiration for this instrument to become, you know, so funny and so relatable, but also continue to show how great you are at drums?
Man, that's you got some really good questions. First of all, I appreciate the compliment because I never think I'm that great at drums at all. I just have fun with it. But I appreciate that. But man, I just kind of like once you're focused on that and you're on that wavelength, and this goes for pretty much anything in life, things just start coming in to accommodate that. So once I'm focused on like, I'm thinking about what's relatable, what problems have happened to me playing drums that I can turn into a funny video. I just got on that wavelength, bro, and like focused on it, and then just ideas are just pouring in. So I view it as an endless pool of ideas out there. It's just a big canvas, and you just think. That's all it is.
You ever wonder where the cowboy drummer might be in, say, a year's time or 5 years' time? Do you ever become concerned that you might run out of ideas, or does each idea seem to, like a domino effect? Each idea inspires something else.
Yeah, yeah, it is kind of like a chain reaction like that. I don't see myself ever running out of ideas because another trick I do is I'll look at other viral videos, whenever I'm scrolling, I'm not like consuming content, I'm analyzing it. So if I
Mm.
see like a cooking video and it has 27,000 likes, I'm like, okay, what about this video? Why did this go viral? And then you can start taking little bits of it. And then I think, okay, how can I take that concept or that little bit and apply it to drums or music. And that's been working out a lot for me, man. So I'm always thinking about just taking, not like copying, but taking the framework of it, you know?
Hmm.
Um, and that's the best form of inspiration. And just the ultimate goal is I want drummers and musicians to find the video enjoyable or funny or cool, but I also want my mom or my grandma who they don't play drums at all, but they will still like get a kick out of it. They would understand the video, you know?
Yes.
So that's what I
Yes.
try to do. And combining those two, man, this I'll never run out of ideas. You know, I'm confident to say that.
I can't wait. I mean, I've been following you for a long time, and you know, each video is better than the next. You mentioned about your dad inspiring you musically. He was a drummer. What do you think he might say about what you're doing today? If he were still around, do you think he would find what you're doing funny? Would he be incredibly proud? You know, and I hope those are the things he would think.
Yeah, yeah, man. I think, well, he would absolutely be so proud, man. Just the fact that, like, before he passed away in 2019, we used to talk about all this stuff, like, you know, getting endorsements, touring and traveling the world. He didn't get to see me do all that, but I mean, he'd be so proud. In terms of the cowboy drummer content thing, I think he would think a lot of it's funny. He
Yes.
might think that some of it's cringe, you know, but a lot of it's designed like that. But, yeah, man, it would be so cool if he was around because he loved Paiste cymbals, and I mean, he really liked everything. He was playing all kinds of stuff, but if he knew I was with Paiste cymbals, he would be like, dude, that is, I mean, it would complete him. So yeah, he would be so stoked right now. I know he is stoked. He's looking down, you know? So
Amazing, amazing. I love that.
think
That's
about.
that's incredible, and I completely agree. I'm sure he's absolutely astounded and up there laughing at your videos. Um, how 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 different is your approach when you're playing with a band on the road on tour versus being in your home studio filming content for your own social media? Is one more stressful than the other? Is one more fun than the other? And if so, what are those differences? And can you drop them into each other to make each experience better?
Yeah, man, that's interesting to think about because to me, they're both equally as fun, but they are wildly different, you know, because a lot of the times when I'm making content, I don't necessarily care if I had the perfect take or if I'm playing something cool. I'm not trying to impress like people with my skills. I'm just trying to make a video that someone might like send to their buddy because they think it's cool. You know, so the way I approach drums when I'm making content, I'm not necessarily like, oh, I gotta bust out the sickest thing right now, you know? But when I'm playing live, I just let the energy take over and I'll just start doing, you know, I try not to overplay or whatever, but I definitely do more like I spice it up a lot more playing live. It's just
Yes.
fun, man. The energy just takes over. But they're both equally as fun, dude, because I love creating. And,
Yes.
you know, it's just a different approach, but under the same umbrella, if you will. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean your live performances again, I've seen footage of you online, and I hope one day I'll see footage of you live in person. But obviously, you know, seeing what you do live and what you do with your videos, you can definitely tell there's that same kind of um uh energy and direction that goes into both performing live and of course your videos. Um
Yeah.
Social media, as we know, it can be a beast if it's not dealt with correctly, or if you know if something comes up and blows up, you know, you never know what's gonna happen. What for you within that beast of social media, what has been the most kind of surprising moment for you as the cowboy drummer? And is it that you had this completely almost overnight following that just absolutely went viral, went crazy through the roof? Was that something that stood out for you?
Yeah, you know what? That might be the one that did it. It's well, okay, when I think about it, social media really brought me everything I have in the drumming in my career.
Yeah.
Even the band, like when I joined Dropout Kings, that was because I ripped a cover of one of their tunes. And then their drummer had left the band a few months later and they hit me up because they remembered the video. And that had to, I mean, that's like definitely one of the highlights for sure. But the way that it blew up overnight, because I've been doing this for like 5 years, and most of that 5 years, I had below 10,000 followers. You know, I've only had like over 100K for like a couple years and it happened quick. I think that's got to be the most surprising because it's like I did all that and it only took one, it was that one video or that one day that changed it all. It's just like it's crazy how it works. It truly is a beast, man. And it's a calculated one that you can
Yes.
manipulate, you
Yes,
know?
yes, definitely, definitely. Would you say for aspiring drummers, social media is particularly important? I know we're talking about social media a lot, but as you say, your career is based on the fact that you make these hilariously relatable videos for drummers. Do you think social media is important for drummers, or do you think that drummers can go without it? You know, they can just go on the road and tour. You know, what's your perspective on that?
Yeah, I think it's definitely important, right? I think everyone would agree. I mean, that's where all the eyeballs are. You know what I mean? Every company that you want to be endorsed with, any band you'd want to play with, musicians you want to work with are all there every day. Can you do it without it? Yeah, sure. I think it definitely I mean, you got to have the right friends. A lot of it's right place, right time, you know? I think social media, if you're a musician in 2025 and you want to make a career out of this, you have to be on social media. That's my take. I'd be posting every day. And I mean, no one's going to come and you got to take it. You know, you got to get out there. You got to push your stuff and grind. Yeah, super important, man. I think everyone should be on it.
Yeah, I absolutely. It's everyone's shop window, isn't it? It's you're saying this is what I've got. You know, come and see what I've got. And as you say, rightly so, if you want to get the attention of endorsements or sponsors in any way, or even just build your own following for your own business, really, because that's what it is. Then absolutely, completely agree.
Yeah,
If
like
you
think
don't,
about real quick, think about like if you didn't have it, how would you approach it? You know, like if I live in, say, I live in Rochester, New York. It's not a huge city. There's not a massive market, very musical town, and you can make a living as a musician. But if I were to just get out there and start playing gigs, how could you climb up you'd have to move to LA or something. That's what everyone says, you know?
Mhm,
Like almost how would you do it without social media? It's like,
mhm.
I don't know. Interesting point.
Yeah, 100%. If I may, Joe, and you can tell this is going to be a serious question because I've called you Joe and not the Cowboy drummer. Um, you went through a serious transformation in your life. You have overcome a lot, it's fair to say. What role did drumming play on your recovery and your rebirth?
That's a good question, man. Actually, drumming didn't play much of a role, to be honest. It wasn't, so when I was going through addiction and that whole like 7 year block of my life, I didn't play drums. I mean, dude, I didn't do anything except go after the substance that I was addicted to. So when I got clean and changed my life around like over 11 years ago, um, I still didn't play drums for like another year or so because it just wasn't a part of my life, even though I knew it was ingrained in me. And I really wanted to get back to it, but it didn't necessarily play a role. I started getting way back into drumming more serious after I was already, on the right track for a couple years. So interesting because you would think it was like a part of my life the whole time, but no, I let it go for a while. That's how powerful that addiction was, man.
When you were going through that addiction, if you don't mind me asking, did you know in the back of your mind that the drums would be there with open arms, ready to welcome you back? Or because it was something that you had allowed to walk away through addiction, did you almost feel guilty about going back on the drum stool again?
Yeah, no, I definitely didn't feel guilty, and I always had a sense that it would be there, you know? And from the first time I ever played drums, it's not like I had to learn. I mean, I immediately knew, like I just kind of had it to some degree. So the coordination and stuff of playing. So I always knew in the back of my mind, like I got that in me. I can pursue it and water that plant anytime. But it got so far. I mean, dude, I'd sold my drums. I sold everything, like all my stuff that I had. I sold it all. So it totally just left my life, but I did know that it would be there, and I knew I loved the drum still,
Mm.
and just so grateful that I was able to get out of that mess. What a shit show, dude.
It's incredible that you've been able to turn your life around in the way that you have. Which leads me on to my kind of final question, really. Do you have any advice for aspiring musicians? that may be struggling to get out there, get their content heard or seen, or if you would like to focus your answer on musicians that maybe are struggling, perhaps with addiction.
Yeah, I definitely would like to say something to anyone struggling with addiction. Let me get this right out the way because I've been there and I know how serious, how hard it is. I know it very, very well, and I can definitely help you. If anyone wants to reach out to me, please feel free to reach out, send me a DM or something. We can definitely talk. I know, if I take a while to get back to you or something, I apologize, but I'll keep an eye out for it because I want to help people. And just know that it's just a mindset, and you have the strength within you. We can get more into that privately, but another message to musicians, man, just keep grinding and keep putting out a positive energy. Like that's the main thing I'm going to tell you. Think about your instrument, think about your goals, be excited. Like I said earlier, post on social media every day. Force people to see you, stake your claim. Say, this is me, I'm here, what's up? And just keep
Mm.
grinding and have fun.
Joe, it's I feel like this has been a really long time coming. Thank you so much for coming on Drummers Review. It's been a pleasure to have you here. I wish you nothing but health, happiness, and success with everything you're doing. And I hope that, in maybe in a couple of years we can reconvene and see how the Cowboy drummer has continued to grow in its hilarious life form that it currently is.
Let's go, dude. Thank you so much, Ali. I appreciate you having me on. You're awesome, brother. Much love. And yeah, I look forward to coming on again. We'll see what the future holds.